Here's a question that might stop you in your tracks. What if everything you've been told about love is incomplete? Not wrong, not evil, just incomplete. We grow up watching love stories, listening to love songs, reading relationship advice, and somewhere along the way we build a picture of what love is supposed to feel like. Warm, exciting, easy, natural. But then life happens. People disappoint us. Relationships break. Families fracture. And suddenly that picture we built doesn't hold up anymore. Why? Because the world taught us what love feels like. But Scripture teaches us what love does. Today we're going inside one of the most quoted and least understood passages in the entire Bible, 1 Corinthians 13, and I want to show you 5 truths that don't just explain love. They rebuild it from the inside out. This is Light of Grace, and this message is for anyone who has ever loved someone and felt like it wasn't enough. Paul opens this chapter with something almost offensive. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. 1 Corinthians 13:1. Think about what he's saying. Eloquence, intelligence, spiritual power, theological knowledge, all of it without love, reduced to noise. That's not a mild warning. That's a complete reordering of values. We live in a world that rewards competence. We celebrate the most talented speaker, the most knowledgeable teacher, the most influential leader. And there's nothing wrong with those gifts. But Paul is saying, gifts without love are performance, not ministry. In John 13:35, Jesus didn't say people would recognize his followers by how much they knew. He said, "By this everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another." The defining mark of a Christian is not knowledge. It's not gifting. It's love. So here's the personal challenge I want to leave with you on this first truth. What are you building your identity on? Your spiritual knowledge? Your service record? Your church attendance? Because Paul says if love isn't underneath all of it, it echoes hollow. Here's where 1 Corinthians 13 gets deeply practical. Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude.
1 Coríntios 13:4-5.
Notice something crucial. Paul never describes love as a feeling. He describes it as a series of choices. Patience, kindness, humility. Each one is a verb disguised as a noun. And here's what I find personally striking about this. The hardest time to choose love is exactly when it matters most. Anyone can be kind to someone who's kind to them. That's not love, that's a transaction. Real love shows up when someone has hurt you, exhausted you, or disappointed you for the 3rd time this week, and you still choose patience. Jesus said in Luke 6:27-28, "Love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you." That's not poetic. That's radical, because it removes the condition. Love doesn't wait for the other person to deserve it. And that's exactly what God modeled for us. Romans 5:8 tells us, "While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Not after we cleaned up. Not after we promised to do better. While we were still a mess." Every time you choose patience when you want to react, kindness when you want to withdraw, you are reflecting the character of God. This is the line that I think most people skip past too quickly. Love keeps no record of wrongs.
1 Coríntios 13:5.
We all have a mental file. Somewhere in the back of our minds we keep track. That thing they said in 2021. That moment of betrayal. That promise that was broken. And sometimes, in the heat of an argument, we open that file. Paul says, real love doesn't have a file. Colossians 3:13 commands us to forgive as the Lord forgave you. And how did the Lord forgive? Psalm 103:12 says he removed our transgressions as far as the east is from the west. That's not forgiveness with an asterisk. That's not, I forgive you but I'll remember. That is complete, unconditional release. Now, and I want to be honest here, this doesn't mean forgiveness is easy. It doesn't mean you pretend the wound didn't happen. Pain is real. Betrayal is real. But forgiveness means you refuse to weaponize the past. You refuse to use someone's worst moment as ammunition in your next argument. Imagine how your most important relationships would transform if you made one decision. I will stop reopening healed wounds. That's not weakness. That's one of the most powerful acts of love you can offer another person. Now here's a truth that cuts against a lot of modern thinking about love. Love does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth.
1 Coríntios 13:6.
Today's culture often defines love as unconditional approval. Say nothing negative, affirm everything, never cause discomfort, but that's not love. That's fear dressed up as kindness. Think of a doctor who detects something dangerous in a patient but stays silent because he doesn't want to upset them. Is that love? No, that's cowardice. Ephesians 4 verse 15 gives us the balance. Speak the truth in love, not truth as a weapon, not silence as protection. Truth held gently, spoken with a heart that wants restoration. Jesus showed this perfectly in John 8. A woman caught in adultery. He protected her from condemnation. And then he said, "Go, and from now on sin no more." Grace and truth, compassion and correction, both together. Real love doesn't choose between honesty and kindness. It holds them both. This is something I feel strongly about for this channel. At Light of Grace, our goal is never to make you feel comfortable. It's to help you encounter truth in a way that sets you free. That's what love does. Paul closes his description of love with 4 statements that feel almost impossible. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things.
1 Coríntios 13:7.
For times, all things. Let me unpack each one quickly. Bears all things. Love doesn't rush to expose or humiliate. Proverbs 10 verse 12 says, "Love covers all offenses." That doesn't mean enabling harmful behavior. It means love's first instinct is restoration, not condemnation. Believes all things, love extends the benefit of the doubt. When someone fails, love asks, "Is there something I'm not seeing?" before assuming the worst. Hopes all things. Love doesn't give up on people. Philippians 1 verse 6 says God will complete the good work he began in you. That's the kind of hope love carries. It sees who someone is becoming, not just who they are right now. Endures all things. This is perseverance. Not passive tolerance, but active commitment. Love stays at the table when the conversation gets hard. It shows up on the ordinary Tuesday when there's nothing romantic about it. Lamentations 3 verses 22 to 23 captures the heart of this. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. God's love for you is not based on your performance. It is covenant love, faithful, persistent, unbreakable. When you step back and read 1 Corinthians 13 as a whole, here's what strikes me most. Love is not a feeling you fall into. It is a life you build, one choice at a time. Patient when it's hard, kind when it's undeserved, forgiving when the wound is real, honest when silence would be easier, persistent when quitting would be simple. And why does any of this matter? Because 1 John 4 verse 8 says, "Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love." When we practice this kind of love, the love of 1 Corinthians 13, we are not just becoming better people. We are revealing the heart of God to a world that desperately needs to see it. That's the mission of Light of Grace. Not to give you information about God, but to help you live His love. In your home, in your workplace, in your hardest relationships. If this message spoke to something real in your life, I want to ask you for one thing. Subscribe to Light of Grace and hit the bell so you never miss a video. Every week, we go deep into Scripture, not just to understand it, but to live it.